Hey guys, so this will be part 2 of the MudRunner map editor tutorial. If you haven't watched part 1 yet, go back and watch that because even if this is not your first map, there's probably something you can learn from there. Plus, I just went over some rules over using our models if you want to use them. So if you haven't watched that, go ahead and watch that before you watch this. So this part, I'm going to start going through the tools now. Um, So this is where we left off. Okay, we had just created our map and we're ready to start working on it. So the first thing that I'll do is, I mean, you don't have to do this, but I usually start with the garage. So I'll go to locators, right click on it, add locator. Okay, so type, go down to type right here, click the down arrow, and you want it to be a garage. Okay, so now you're gonna have to set the size of it. So if I did like 5, that would be like the size of a truck. So it'd be small. That'd be a small garage. So a good sized garage would be 20 by 20. Okay. This is going to be a good sized garage game. Um, Personally, I like big garages. Okay. I like to be able to, if you're in there with your buddies, you all get in the garage, put your add-ons on, and also when you're putting in locators, put it on a flat surface. Don't put it on a hill or on the edge of a cliff. Like, try to be realistic with your garages. Um, have a nice flat area where you could put on your add-ons, put trailers, or if you want to put trailers or whatever on. So you have that. There's your garage. Okay. Now another locator you could do is right-click on locator again, add locator, go down to type, and add a fuel station. Now a fuel station, it could be small. You can make that 5 by 5. Okay, and you could see how much smaller that is. So that's going to be about a vehicle. One vehicle will probably be able to get in there. You make it whatever size you want, but we'll work with that just to give you guys an idea of the different sizes. So this is a pretty good sized garage here. Okay, so if you want to add a model, you could easily add a model. Go right, just right click on your scene right here, add model. Okay, and here's the rock models. Uh, Mine is Spun's rock models. Okay. Um, Scroll down till you find the model you want. So we're looking for the garage. Why don't I see it here? Garage. Double click it. Okay. Now you could spin it, rotate it, whatever. With the models, okay, this is how you resize models. You see that square in the middle, it turns orange. Don't resize the models. They're already scaled right in game. So there's no need to resize any of the models. Okay. Um, so just place your garage where you want it. You had it x-axis, z-axis, y-axis. Now, when you're placing these models, some of these models are not on the ground. You see that this is hovering? Make sure that your models aren't hovering like that. So just go to your y-axis and drag it down till it hits the ground. Even put it in the ground some. That's okay. It's better than it being floating like that. Okay, so there's your garage. And if you want to add some fuel tanks, you add some fuel tanks. Turn it this way. pull it back, or you could grab it right here and move it all over the place. Also, same with this, make sure that it's not hovering, which it is. There you go. Okay, so that's models for you. All right, now the next thing you're going to want to do is materials. Okay, so you have a default material that you could use that you're working with. So click that. Scroll down to grass right here. Now, there's a bunch of combos you could use. Okay, I use materials to do all my trails. Okay, I mix materials. That's how I make all my trails. You could go over to overlays. Okay, go to add overlay, and there's all these overlays that you could use to make your trails and roads and shit. I don't like using these. Okay, if you want to use them, you can. I don't like using them. I prefer to mix materials, and you get way better results. Um, Plus, it's a pain in the ass putting these on. If I do use overlay, I'll use this grass road for a very short distance, or for just a transition. Okay, that's or if you want to use like a paved road, right? There's asphalt roads that you could use. Yeah. Okay, but if you want to use these, you can. I don't use these, and I'm gonna show you how I do it. And same as like how Mo and Wrench and Monkey, how they do their trails. We all mix materials. We blend them. That's the key word. You want to blend them. Okay, so go back to your materials in your default one here. Okay, so you have your grass and you have your dirt. What I do is do it opposite. I use my dirt as my grass and my grass as my dirt. And I'll show you why I do that right here. So I go to grass, press that. Now, you could do any combo you want here. You could do whatever you want. Okay. The goal is to mix and blend materials. So for this one, since I do it opposite, my grass I'm going to use as my dirt. Double click that. And my dirt I'm going to use as my grass. Okay. And now you see my dirt now turned to grass. All right. So once you have that, click back on it. Okay. So you have your size. Okay. One of the hardest things to do as a map maker is to scale stuff properly. Okay. So if you've ever been out four-wheeling or trailing, the trails are very tight. Okay. They're not big. They're normally just a little bit bigger than an actual vehicle. Okay. Now, obviously, they do change sizes. They get narrower and they get wider. But what we're looking for is a base to go off of. Okay. A base size to go off of. And then we can know if we need to go wider or narrower. You know what I'm saying? So what I've found out is a good size for a trail is 3.0. All right. That's going to be a little bit wider than like a full-size truck. Um, and then the value. Okay. So the value is the dirt. So I have it, it's going to be confusing here because I have it switched here. I want to take away the dirt, right? I want to bring it down to about 0.30. You could go lower if you want, but the idea here is to blend the materials. If you go all the way down to 0, the line is gonna be sharper. You get what I'm saying? It's not gonna blend as nice. So how this works is 0.5 is basically neutral. Okay, so it's not gonna do anything at 0.5. It either has to be above that or below it. If you go above it, it'll erase it, and if you go below it, it'll add it. So .30 will be a good, give you a nice defined road, but it'll blend into the grass nicely. So go ahead and just hold your right button or your right mouse button and draw your trail on. Okay? Draw your trail. If you don't like it, you messed up, you could just set your value up and you can erase it. You can erase it. Or if you don't like it at all, you could just press undo and you can start over. Only as soon as you click off, you can't do that, but you can always go back and erase it. So set our value back down to 3, and we'll go through and draw our trail on again. Okay. And then if you want to have it Y off or have a fork in the road, you just add your fork. All right. And click off that. And there you go. And you can see even at 3.0 the lines are really defined, but when you get in there you can see how it blends good. See how it's blending? You're mixing the materials. Okay. So if you want to add another material, go to materials, add material, go down to grass, and because your original grass, wait, let me see here. What was that? Dirt, sorry. Because your dirt was the grass, you need to use that as your base again. Because if you don't, when you add your new material, it's going to be a straight line where the new material is. So you have to blend in your new material. So go with the grass because that's what we use as our dirt. And then for the grass, we'll add this beach. Okay. So now you're going to want to go to opacity. All right. Now set the value to about 60 will do. And just go through and select the squares that you want your new material. Okay. You don't want to go on these because you have this material right here already. So you want to avoid these blocks. So you can do that. All right. And then switch it back to dirt. Bring your value down to 3. Okay. And now you could paint. You could change the size. Now you could paint your new material. Maybe make it like a little sand pit or something. Just for example. Okay, so now you have your sand. Looks like a golf course. All right. So that's how you use your materials. Remember, the key is to blend. You want them to blend. All right. So now this is way too flat, so we need to add some geometry. Make this trail come to life. So go up to geometry. Okay. Now the same thing here. Here's your size. Okay. So and then the value is your elevation. Okay. So if you go all the way up, it's gonna look how red the cursor is. It's gonna pull it up a lot faster, a lot higher. If remember 50 or 0.50 is neutral, so it's not going to do anything there. If you want to lower it, go lower. So let's cut this road in. Let's go to like 35. And we'll set the size about a little bit wider than the road. So 3 is probably pretty good. Let's go a little bit bigger. Let's go like 3.5. That looks good. So same thing, just hold your right mouse button. and draw in where you want your depth to be. Okay. And see the depth now? And that's at 3. If you go lower, it's going to go even deeper. So try and get used to how the depth works and what works best for you. Okay, so now let's go and let's do some elevation. Let's put it about 6.4 and let's go to 4. And let's start giving like a little bank around this road. Okay, you see how I created this bank around the road? And you go a step further, make your size bigger, go a little bit higher, and you can make a mountain or a hill bigger. Now, when you're working this elevation, okay, there is a limit to how high you could go. If you go too high, the top will start flattening out. And the same as if you go too low, the bottom will flatten out. So you want to try and find that, get used to that threshold and know how high you could go before it starts flattening out at the top, and how low you could go before it starts flattening out at the bottom. So you could push your ground down as low as you can before it starts flattening out, and raise your ground up as high as you can before it starts flattening out, and you're going to have a pretty big mountain. Okay, it's going to be a mountain when you're done. So you could go really high, but just know that threshold, and also watch your angle of your hill. Okay, you can't, once you go past a certain angle, you'll start getting errors in your geometry. So watch your angles as well. You could get it steep enough that you can't even drive a truck up it. Okay, so the angle's steep enough, but if you go past that angle, you're going to get errors in your geometry. So watch for that stuff when you're working this tool. So there's our little mountain right here, little hill. Okay, and you can even kind of do work around this sandy area. Right. And the goal, your number one goal as a map maker should be, the first thing should be you want it to be natural. Okay, so try and make shit so that you would see it in real life, like how it would be in real life. Obviously, it's a game, I know that, but try to make it natural. And also, the second rule is to make it fun. Okay, there's no point in having the best looking map in the world if it's boring, right? And if you have a fun map and it looks like crap, what's the point? So that should be your goal. Natural and fun. Okay, those are your two number one goals. If you can accomplish that, it's going to be a great map. Okay, so let's get a little bit more elevation around here. Okay. All right, so that's good enough for geometry tool. You guys understand how that works now. So here's the next step. Click off that. Every time you use the geometry tool, every time you need to rebuild terrain. Okay, rebuild terrain. What this is doing is if you have any errors in your geometry and you forget to rebuild terrain and you continue to build on those errors, then you'll start getting errors in your map. That's errors in your geometry. Okay. How you fix those, I don't know, because I don't get errors in my map because I rebuild terrain. All right. So save. So every time you use this tool, you need to rebuild terrain. Oh, one more thing in geometry. Flatten. Okay, it's just exactly what it sounds like. So what this does is if you have any hard edges, okay, what you want to avoid is hard edges in your geometry. You don't want any spikes. You want everything to be smooth. So go through and just smooth it out. If there's any hard edges, you go through and smooth them out. Okay, that's all you're doing is smoothing out. This came out really smooth, so this is not a good example of where to use the smoothing tool. But you'll see in some areas where you're getting a little bit more tricky with your geometry, you're making hill climbs, you're making ruts, okay? That's when you're going to start seeing these sharp edges, and you're going to want to go through and smooth those out, all right? Uh, Let me see if I could do a quick example. So let's make a little hill climb here. So let's say this is a hill climb right here. We'll bring this up. Okay, so we got a little hill climb here. You can make it steeper than that. This is just an example. All right. So now let's rebuild terrain again. Save. Go back to geometry. And let's make some ruts in here. So we'll go 135. So you can rut this road out. You know what I'm saying? You could go down like that. You see what I'm saying? Make ruts all in here. You could get a lot trickier too. Make it a lot harder. You can pull the ground up, make it steeper. This is just an example, but you see how you start getting these rough edges? This is still pretty smooth, but let's see if we could get a rougher edge here. Okay, now you're starting to see those rough edges that you don't want. Let's see if I can see that. Right here. So get your flatten tool. Try and get rid of those rough edges right here. You want everything to look smooth. Okay, so you guys get the idea of that. Okay, so once again, rebuild terrain. Get used to doing that. Take a vape break while it's recreating. Save. Alright, so the next step will be distributions. So right click, add distribution. Okay, so how you want to do this is go down here to press. Well, sorry, messed up. Go down here, up here to map. Okay, so you're going to have to name your distribution. So go D underscore, and then the name of your map. So I'll just go TUT01 because it's our first distribution dot TGA. Okay, you have to have the distribution underscore and you have to have the dot TGA or it won't work. Go to open. Now you can go to press and add in what you want in this distribution. So you could go bushes big, bushes. You could go anything. You could go grass long, grass messy, and yeah, small trees. Okay. So make sure you're on density. I don't use any of this auto fade or randomize. So set your size like normal. You go bigger if you want. Now the value, once again, 50 is neutral. So it's not going to do anything. So a good setting is about 70, depending on how dense you want it to be. And just draw it on using your right mouse button where you want this distribution. We'll say we'll use this one as like a distribution that kind of follows the road. Alright. Now you have some bushes and plants. See, it's starting to come together, starting to come to life a little bit. Okay, so let's add another distribution. Add distribution. Same thing. So we have DSTR underscore, whoops, underscore TUT for tutorial 02, because this is our second distribution. Dot TGA. Open. Alright, so go back down to press and let's add some trees in here. So we can add bushes again. We can add bushes big. There's some grass long. I love the grass long. Go to small trees. And let's go birches and birches long. Okay, so try to avoid, you can overlap distributions. It's okay. But some of the models in the distributions don't like to overlap. And I'll show you in a second. So this is okay if you overlap it. Okay, you can overlap this, it's fine. Now when you're adding trees, try to keep them off of an angle because the base of the tree won't be into ground all the way. So try and keep the trees on as flat as the surface as possible. Okay, so all this will be okay. But this steeper angle stuff, you might want to avoid putting trees on that. Bushes and stuff is fine. See, I'm trying to get the trees up on the flatter surfaces. I don't want them on a hill because it's going to look stupid. Okay. There. Now you got some trees in there. All right. Rebuild terrain. Take a vape break. All right. Save. Oh, and one other thing I wanted to show you was, let's add a distribution again. So underscore tut 03 dot tga enter. All right. If you want to use these small rocks, all right, try to avoid your other distributions. Try not to overlap with this one, because all of you guys, if you've been playing Spin Tires and MudRunner, you've noticed the ninja star looking rocks. I know we've all seen those. Okay, what causes that is overlapping distributions. And these rocks models don't like overlapping. That's what causes that. Okay, you can add these rocks into your distribution and they'll work fine, but they're going to be rocks everywhere. You know what I'm saying? You don't want these rocks everywhere. So when you put these rocks in, try to get them away from the distribution. You see this? You can see where my other one is right here. Try and keep it away from those and just keep them where you think you're going to see them on the trail. Like right here. This is going to be a lot, but I'm just giving an example. Okay? Yeah, see, this is way too many. My value is too high. But get an idea of what I was trying to convey there. Try to avoid overlapping the distributions when you're using this rock model. So let's just finish rebuilding terrain. Yeah, I had my value set way too high, but you guys get you guys get the point. Let's save that. Okay, so what's next here? We got plants. And I think that's going to do it for this part. The next part I will cover, I'll cover water and I'll cover mud. Alright guys, thanks for watching.